Hello, marvelous people. My name is Marvin LeBlanc. I am a South Louisiana native. I am an Amazon Kindle best-selling author, and I have owned an insurance and financial services practice for 32 years. I happen to also be a disaster expert because of the challenges that I had to encounter due to the ravages of Hurricane Katrina. The title of my message today is Build Your Resistance. We're having some challenges with the connection. Please continue to give me comments so that I can know whether or not we're still connected. Thanks for those of you that are coming on. I'll now begin. Build your resistance in the face of a crisis. As the spread and far-reaching impacts of COVID-19 dominate the world news, we have all been witnessing and experiencing the parallel spread of worry, anxiety, and instability. Indeed, in a crisis, our mental state often seems only to exacerbate an already extremely challenging situation becoming a major obstacle in itself. Why is this, and how can we change it? Even without a barrage of bad or worrisome news, your mind's natural tendency is to get distracted. Our most recent study found that 58% of employees reported an inability to regulate their attention at work. Now, what I would submit to each of you is that if you look at your own co-workers' experience and your own workplace experience, I would have to venture to say that you probably have a number of distracted employees that reaches far above 58%. As the mind wanders, research has shown that it easily gets trapped into patterns and negative thinking. During times of crisis, such as those we are living through now, this tendency is exacerbated and the mind can become even more hooked by obsessive thinking, as well as feelings of fear and helplessness. I believe everyone on this broadcast has already experienced, either for themselves or from a loved one, those feelings of fear and helplessness. It's why we find ourselves reading story after horrible story of quarantined passengers on a cruise ship, even though we've never stepped foot on a cruise ship, nor do we even plan to. When your mind gets stuck in this state, a chain reaction begins. Fear begins to narrow your field of vision. Did you guys hear that? Fear begins to narrow your field of vision. And it becomes harder to see the bigger picture and the positive, creative possibilities in front of you. As perspective shrinks, so too does our tendency to connect with others. Right now, the realities of how the coronavirus spreads can play into our worst fears about others and increase our own feelings of isolation, which only adds fuel to our worries. Watching the past month's turmoil unfold, I've been reminded of the old Buddhist parable of the second arrow. The Buddha once asked a student, if a person is struck by an arrow, is it painful? If the person is struck by the second arrow, is it even more painful? He then went on to explain, in life we cannot always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is our reaction to the first. And with this second arrow comes the possibility of choice. We are all experiencing the first arrow of the coronavirus these days. We are impacted by travel restrictions, plummeting stock prices, supply shortages, grandparents that can't see newborn grandchildren, teenagers that can't see their grandparents. But the second arrow, anxiety about getting the virus itself, or worrying about those loved ones, if they will get it, worrying about the financial implications, and all the other dark scenarios flooding the news and the social media, is to a large extent of our own making. Yes, I say making. In short, the first arrow does cause unavoidable pain, and our resistance to it creates fertile ground for all the second arrows. It's important to remember that these second arrows, our emotional and psychological response to the crisis, are natural and very human. They often bring us more suffering by narrowing and cluttering our mind and keeping us from seeing clearly the best course of action. So what can we do about it? Well, the first thing we can do is calm our mind. When you focus on calming and clearing your mind, you can pay attention to what's really going on around you and what is coming up within you. You can observe and when they start to run away towards doomsday scenarios. Secondly, you can look out the window. Despair and fear can lead to overreactions. Often it feels better to do something, anything, than rather sitting there with uncomfortable emotions and obsessing on social media. In the past few weeks, I have felt disappointment and frustration with important business initiatives that have been adversely affected by COVID-19. But I've been trying to meet these frustrations with reflection versus immediate reaction. I know my mind needed space to unhook from the swirl of bad news and to settle into a more stable position from which good planning and lastly, I want to mention that a key to mitigating these issues is to connect with others through compassion. Many of the times when I have experienced either my own anxiety or the anxiety of my customers, my coworkers, it's when I also observe that either myself or themselves are spending way too much time in self-importance instead of what can I do to serve my fellow man. As some of you already know, I'm obsessed with not only offering the same level of customer service right now as I have in weeks prior to coronavirus, but I'm offering more services. And so those three-way calls, and if you need to do some sort of private video conferencing, is available. Circles of the community that provide are now closed off to us as cities and government spread of the virus. Schools are shut down, events are canceled, and businesses have enacted work from home policies and travel bans. The natural byproduct of this is a growing sense of isolation and separation from the people and groups who can best quell our fears and anxieties. Guys and ladies, I want to tell you, you are not alone. You are not being forgotten. If you can see this broadcast, you have what it takes to stay connected. You have to want to move forward. Person, have a better day. With that simple question, amazing things can happen. The mind is open to who and what is really in front of us, and we see possibilities for ourselves and others that are rich with hope and ripe with opportunity. I appreciate all of you that have tuned in for this small message. I also greatly sharing this broadcast with your friends, neighbors, co-workers, and relatives that are lost, that are. By all means, either you yourself or any of those folks can reach out to me. I'll be glad to talk to them, or at least, if nothing else, I can. I hope this message resonates with you. I hope you share this message on your social media feeds. And I hope you remember that Marvin LeBlanc Insurance Agency is here for all of you. Every day, 24 hours a day, my phone is being answered. I wish you peace. I wish you love. And as always, your favorite South Louisiana Cajun wishes you gumbo. See you later, folks. Stay positive, one day at a time. Be kind to each other. Be patient. And spend more time loving yourself and less time thinking about all of what you do not have. Take care.